all across America and around the world. This is Veterans Radio. This is Veterans Radio.
Good day. I'm Jim Fausone. I'm the officer of the deck today here on Veterans Radio, and thanks for joining us. We've got some interesting stories for you. We always want to remind you you can find more about Veterans Radio at its Facebook site or at the web, veteransradio.org, where we're on the web 24/7. You can find a lot of our podcasts there as well. We post new ones every Tuesday, so you can get a new story, a new interview, something you didn't know before by going to veteransradio.org. And before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors. First up, we want to thank National Veteran Business Development Council, NVBDC.org. It was established to certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses. You'll find out how they can help your business by going to NVBDC.org. We want to thank Legal Help for Veterans. Legal Help for Veterans fights for veterans' disability rights all across the nation. You can reach them at 800-693-4800 or on the web at legalhelpforveterans.com. And finally, PuroClean. PuroClean is the paramedics of property damage. It provides water damage remediation, flood water removal, fire and smoke damage remediation, mold removal, biohazard cleanup. It also has a focus on veteran franchisees. You can learn more about them by going to puroclean.com. We want to give you a little advance notice. We're going to have a Veterans Radio event on Sunday, September 28th, 2025. Radio on the River. We're doing a new location on Freedom River in Livingston County, Michigan. We want you to save the date. We're going to have veteran storytelling and guest speakers. We'll have raffle items, great local musicians and food. Also, uniquely, there's going to be an opportunity to fly in a UH-1 Huey from the Michigan Flight Museum. And maybe you can also win a free ride that way. But plan on supporting Veterans Radio either by buying tickets or sponsoring Radio on the River. Contact us at Dale@veteransradio.org or Jim@veteransradio.org to get more information, but we'd love to have you come out, and we'd certainly love to have you sponsor. We just want to remind you that Veterans Radio podcasts are available on all your favorite streaming platforms, including RSS.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Rees Across America Radio. So wherever you are, you can find us, whether it's on your mobile phone or your computer or your laptop, your tablet. But listen in to Veterans Radio Podcasts. We post something new every week, and you're going to find it informative. Welcome. This is Veteran Radio's Spotlight on the National Veteran Business Development Council, known as NVBDC.org. I'm Jim Fausone, the podcast host here. National Veteran Business Development Council, NVBDC, is the nation's leading third-party authority for certification of veteran-owned businesses of all sizes. This 501c3 nonprofit is established 12 years ago, 2013, I believe. It addresses the growing need to identify and certify both service-disabled and veteran-owned businesses in the commercial or corporate marketplace. NVBDC administers a rigorous certification process designed to withstand the scrutiny of governmental and corporate entities seeking to utilize certified veteran-owned businesses. And we're fortunate to have with us again its founder, CEO, Keith King. Keith, welcome back to Veterans Radio.
Thank you, Jim. It's always good to be with you and your audience. I always enjoy sharing new things and new activities that NVBDC is featuring and launching. So this is hot off the presses, so to speak, and I wanted to make sure that you and your audience, heard it first.
Well, that's great. We've generally get to talk to veteran-owned business owners that you certify, or maybe members, corporate members of NVBDC. And if you go to nvbdc.org, you can figure out how your company maybe could get certified as a veteran-owned business. But Keith, what's new? Tell us what's going on.
Well, what we have been working on for years, and sometimes I know as a founder, I come up with a lot of strange ideas, and I'm the first to admit some of them are really bad. But every once in a while, you come up with a good one. So what I have been working on, what it seems like for years, is this idea that we have a lot of American veterans who live, work, and frankly own businesses overseas. And I always thought there's a two-way street in this way. One, we have a lot of veterans here in America who would love to be involved in exporting and or importing, frankly. And we have obviously a lot of veterans overseas who are not only directly importing back here, but more important to me in many ways is they're already working with many of the corporate members that we have who are international in size and scope. One of our corporate members asked me about when you're going to launch internationally. That company was in 123 countries around the world. And I went, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. And then, as things happen, I've had many of, we're in Detroit, many of the automotives, no secret, about working overseas and all the things. And then under our current administration, this whole remanufacturing, if you will, or the idea of trying to bring manufacturing back here to Detroit, I know they used to call it reshoring. But anyways, that whole idea came up, and I got a slew of calls from our corporation saying, look, we have a lot of veteran companies. If they're coming back, we want to make sure they get certified. But in the meantime, it wouldn't hurt to reach out and start working with them. And that has now morphed, if you will, into what we're referring to as our international initiatives. We have been working with the import, or actually it's called the Export-Import Bank, and we have been working with the Department of Commerce. We've been working with ITA, the International Trade Association, and I know, Jim, you were there when I signed our national agreement with them. And that in itself also now opened the door to the Department of Commerce, to the SBA, to, just a long list, if you will, of organizations. And I laugh about it, but some of them, like the U.S. Trade and Development Agency, I've never heard of them.
Right.
What? And what do you do? And actually, I'm, kind of cheating a little bit, but I'm looking at the card, business card, of one of the young ladies I met in D.C. a couple of weeks back. And her business card reads that she's the country manager of Europe and Eurasia. And I thought,
that's a huge geographic territory and opportunity.
And I started telling her what we do with certification, and she said, "Well, then you're really going to like me." And I said, "Well, I like you already. Why will I like you more?" She said, "Well, we'll actually help your veterans write the bid to and in the language of the country that they want to export with."
Sure.
And I said, "You all of a sudden moved up way high."
I'm keeping this contact information.
And I have to admit that, the Export-Import Bank is somebody that I had been working with directly and indirectly for a number of years, trying to see what we could do. And it's really what has happened and why I wanted to make sure I had a chance to talk with you and share all this. What we, with your audience, is the fact that we are already moving to put together some seminars, webinars, if you will, that we're looking at doing in the sense of being able to have your listeners, our veteran businesses, actually hear from the corporations or the people that I'm talking about, the XM Bank, the SBA, the ITA. And when we start looking at these are going to be in many ways limited only because we're believing that as we put this together, the number of people who will want to get in on these. And I wanted to at least announce, what I would call, save the date kind of things. The first one, we expect it to be hosted on July 24th, and the second one on September 9th. Both of them will be from 11 a.m. to 12:30 Eastern Time. And yeah, I know that's long, but the more that we sat down and started working on the agenda or working on the information, what do we want our veteran businesses to know? And it's really one of those kind of things where the idea that this import-export really does work both ways in the sense of inbound and outbound from the United States. And we have met what I call the proper government people to help our veterans. And that's the other thing I wanted to share.
Well, let me make sure folks know where to go get more information. And I'm assuming that they can learn more about how they might sign up for this webinar on import-exporting for July 24th or September 9th by going to nvbdc.org and clicking and registering. Is that how it would work?
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for that. And, we're already working on the web page and the registration pages. So you might get there and say, okay, I got to the right place, but we're not ready yet. But I wanted to give you a heads up because it's coming. But yeah, it's exactly right. Come to my website, nvbdc.org, and you'll see, events, and under that event page, then you will see this webinar and our export initiatives. So yeah, it will also give you an idea of who is going to be speaking, their backgrounds. It's amazing when you get somebody who wants to help you, and all of a sudden people who are considered, experts in this industry and in knowing how to do this. I talked to a guy as an example who has this multi-million-dollar contract to build airports in Thailand. And as soon as he knew what I was doing, he said, "You had a bunch of veterans who served in Thailand for years." I said, "Yeah."
Absolutely.
He said, "You think you got anybody who might be interested in coming back?" And I went, "Well, where most of us are pretty old by now." And he said, "Well, if you can find guys who are interested in helping me build airports and know what they're doing, I don't care how old they are, let's talk." And I thought, here's a guy just cold. I mean, I don't know who he was before this meeting, who just come up and said, "If you got veterans who have this knowledge, I want them." So I think that, this is kind of part of the enthusiasm that I have for this, because I walked out of that meeting in D.C. the 3 days we were there with the impression that, okay, I'm talking to the right people finally. I'm talking to people who care, and honestly, people who want to help our veterans either import or export or both. And that was kind of an exciting thing to the people I talked to, who said, "How many of you guys are manufacturing?" I said, "I'm from Detroit. A lot of them are manufacturing." Oh my God, we need to talk to them. And then you talk to guys.
Well, let me jump in here because I want to get
Sure.
this point across to our veteran radio listeners and those veteran business owners who are who have been certified or should get certified by NVBDC.
Sure.
You start out with this idea of export-import and you go, it's too scary, I don't know what I'm doing. But through an organization like NVBDC with these other contacts with corporate members who are international who are there to help, once you start networking and get that help, it's no longer scary, right? It becomes an opportunity, and that's really what you're creating is the chance to, hey, maybe you ought to be playing on a bigger field. You ought to seize this opportunity or at least explore it to see if it's right for your company.
Well, thank you, Jim, and you're absolutely right. As you probably know or remember, when a group of our corporate members did their own financial analysis, those corporate members came out with an economic study that said that they had collectively issued $4.3 billion in contracts to our certified vets. And it was like, oh my God, okay, this is a long way from, $40,
Right.
Or my back pocket is what I used to say. And, when you start looking at that kind of help and support, that really was one of the things I know I mentioned, but I think it's worth repeating, is when you have, as we do, the kind of corporations who are international in size and scope call you and say, hey, if you got guys who, want to be in the export business, we want to help them, and we got guys overseas that we want you to get certified and help them come back if they want to bring their company back. And I was going to mention that some of the people, again, that I was talking to were very aware of the lack of money and in the sense of capital and expenses. And I swore I would not mention names or phone numbers, but I actually have it sitting here in front of me of another part of our government operations that literally have not only money in the sense of loans, but in some of them have point blank said, look, Keith, depending on the situation and what we're looking at, we may be able to work a grant. And I went, grant? Oh, anytime you talk grants, I'm interested.
That's right. That's right.
And if you're talking grants to me, I want to make sure my vets understand, listen, a grant, and again, the money that they're talking about, it's like, oh, okay, this isn't, $2.50, this is serious money.
Well, and I think one of the points to get across here is we mentioned the corporate support you have, but what I'm hearing now on the export-import side, not only do you have corporate member support to help veteran-owned businesses, you've now made connections and networking with federal government agencies that can support that effort as well.
Exactly right. And it's only taken me 12 years to do it, but
Well, you're saving the veteran business owner 12 years. If you get involved, business owner, with NVBDC, you're going to skip through a lot of those growing pains, because they're going to be able to put you in touch with maybe the right folks in that right country for the right project.
And I appreciate that, because I know when you were at my last national event, you begin to see the corporations that are there and people. I mean, I can't tell you how many of the veterans have come up to me and said, I hear you talking about all this stuff, but oh my God, I can't believe over here is, Amazon, over here is Walmart, over here is whatever or whoever. And it's like, yeah, well, these are the corporations that, thank God, care about us being veterans and care about veteran businesses. And, obviously I acknowledge them and credit them whenever I can, but that's the facts of it. And when I went into finally to sit down and talk to these various, I whipped off in about 5 different government agencies, but they were all together at one place at one time. And all 5 of them said, okay, bring this to us. We're here and we will definitely put this together, with you. So I wanted to give, you and, the Veterans Radio audience an opportunity to get a head start on this and a heads up on it. And, we've been working together for a long time as well. So I want to make sure that they know that if you get certified with us, you start working with us. This is one thing here in the sense of doing local business and doing business with our corporations. But we are also now, seriously headlong into our international expansion efforts. And the one thing I would, love to be able to do is make sure that next time I go to D.C. or the next time I sit down and talk to any of these elements of our federal government, I can say, yeah, I got, 100, I got 200, I got whatever veteran businesses who are interested in learning more about exporting and or importing. So
I'm gonna plug it again, nvbdc.org. Go to that page. At the top bar, there's something called Global Initiatives, and that'll track you back to the various agencies and the Export-Import Bank and that sort of thing. Yep. Now, one more, I always say one more, but there's always another one. So you've got a big program coming up in October in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, that is our national convention, and all I can tell you is as we have grown over the years, not only do the corporations, our book coming in and support that event constantly every year. What we know is the veterans, which one of the things that we have done now for years has had what we call a veteran panel. What that panel does is talk about how those individual veteran companies have done with the certification, what they're doing, their marketing, their sales, their advertising, whatever, and their success. And one of the ones that we had always have said is, look, I don't know what you buy out of your company, but who are you buying that from? What we support, what we push, is veteran helping veteran buying from veterans. And one of the gentlemen at the panel said, hey, look, guys, this guy over here, this guy over here, and this guy over here, all of us are working together. And last year I did about 40 million with them all. And you could have heard the room go, oh,
right. Did I hear that right? Yeah.
What did he say? You did what? And, so you start looking at that potential in the sense of just doing business with each other. And then you look at the corporations, not only did I mention, but one of the things that has really happened over the years, we have what we call basically an RFP, RFQ program with our corporate members who will come to us and say, hey, I'm looking for a veteran business that does whatever. And what we then do is take that and turn that around, send it out to our certified vets saying, hey, if you do, what this corporate member is looking for, please go to this link or come back and tell us what you're doing, and we'll put you in contact, whatever they're comfortable with, they being a corporation, however they want us to administer it or, do the admin on it.
Well, I want to encourage folks, if you've to, again, go to the website, click on the link for this upcoming event in October. Now's the time to plan for that sort of stuff. Having been at NVBDC's Detroit event last year in 2024, you're going to walk out with all kinds of contacts and business cards with people you want to stay in touch with and do work with and be inspired by. Honestly, some of these guys are so inspirational. So, again, this is a way that NVBDC helps its certified members. This isn't just a rubber stamp. You stamp it on your stuff and go. These events, these initiatives, like the global initiatives, really make this a worthwhile certification to obtain if you're, if you're entitled to it, because it's going to be a rigorous process.
Sure. Well, if I may, Jim, one thing I do want to address, and I hear this constantly, is this whole thing about, oh, we're too small and the corporations are never going to hire us. And I usually say, yeah, with that attitude, I wouldn't hire you either. Now, some people say, hey, Keith, you shouldn't be saying those kind of things. But the truth is this. We have had two-person, if you will, two-man companies hired by major largest corporations in the world. I tell the story of a little four-man crew that I had done a lot of nurturing with and a lot of mentoring with. Was at one of the events that we were working with, one of our corporate members. It just happened, and I even tell people I don't know if it'll ever happen again. But it happened, and that to me was what was important, because a buyer was there who ended up talking with these four members of the company, and they told her what they do. And she says, oh my God, I have been looking for 2 years for a company that does exactly this. And they ended up not only talking, but ended up signing a 5-year contract, again, with, one of the major corporations in the world, because they had a specific skill. And that's the kind of things that we'd like to talk about. What do you do? Why would a company hire you? Can you do it bigger, better, faster, smarter?
Right.
And what is it that you do? And so those are the kind of things that, like I just said, when we can have the corporations, and we didn't do it, they did it, economic impact study, and come back and say, yeah, oh, by the way, we issued $4.3 billion in contracts. Well, to me, it's like, look, if you're going to work in this arena, now's the time, to step up. I guess it's like if you're in manufacturing and they'll demand you have an ISO rating, or you've passed some ISO program and have that badge, if you will. Well, that's pretty much what we do at the NVBDC.
Yeah, and you do it better than anybody else in the country. It's absolutely the gold standard. We want to, again, encourage people to think about maybe export-import, participate in the webinar on July 24th or September 9th. You can sign up by going to nvbdc.org. Think about, hey, maybe it's time to get out of the shop, out of the office, go to South Carolina, meet up with all these interesting corporate members and other veteran-owned businesses and get fired up and networked some. Again, go to the website. You're going to find how to do that. Keith, as always, we appreciate the update. We're thrilled to hear about the worldwide expansion of NVBDC, and we look forward to the next time we get to talk and see where it all leads to.
Thank you, buddy, and I appreciate the work that you do in letting our veterans and veteran businesses know about not only what we do, but all the different elements of being a veteran in a veteran community. So, Jim, I know I'll see you soon, and again, thanks for all your help and support.
You got it, brother. Take care.
All right. You too. Bye.
And I want to thank everybody for listening to Veterans Radio today. I am Jim Fausone. It's been a pleasure to be your host. I'm a veterans disability lawyer at Legal Help for Veterans, and you can reach us at 800-693-4800 or legalhelpforveterans.com on the web. You can follow Veterans Radio on Facebook and listen to its podcasts and internet radio shows
by visiting us at veteransradio.org. That's veteransradio.org. We again want to thank our national sponsors, the National Veterans Business Development Council, NVBDC.org, Legal Help for Veterans, a veterans disability law firm with a national practice before the VA, can help you on your claims and your appeals. It can be reached at legalhelpforveterans.com or 1-800-693-4800. And PuroClean, a leader in property emergency services. It's the paramedics of property damage, providing water damage remediation, flood water removal, fire and smoke damage remediation, mold and biohazard cleanups. You can reach them at puroclean.com or 800-775-7876. We also want to thank our local sponsors. This would include the Charles S. Kettles chapter of the Vietnam Veterans of America, that's chapter 310, VFW Graf O'Hara Post 423, the American Legion Irwin Preskin Post 46 in Ann Arbor as well, the VA Ann Arbor Healthcare System, and certainly the National Vietnam Veterans of America Association. You can be a sponsor by going to veteransradio.org, clicking on the About Us and our sponsors, and help us out. Keep this program alive for the 21 and 22 years. Keep us going for another 20. Thank you.